I grew up in a single parent home. I've been sexually abused, verbally abused, physically abused. Because I grew up in that kind of environment, I grew up with low self-esteem. So I always tend to measure myself to people, you know, who looks better or who is slimmer or who has better clothes or, it was always stuff like that. But when I got to a point where instead of comparing myself with people, I started to compare myself with Christ, I knew that it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the kingdom and what I could do, what kind of addition I was to the kingdom, and what I could bring through Christ. My name is Anise Walters. Um, I'm from Jamaica. Originally, I was born and raised in Jamaica. I came to the United States in 2010. I want to say that I knew the Lord as a child, but I don't think I had a relationship with Him until I came here, if I can put it that way. Um, I was living in New York back then. I sat on the chair. I was listening to uh, ministry. I want to say it was Joyce Meyer. It was one of them televangelists. And, at the end of the sermon, uh, they asked, whosoever want to give their life to God. And I sat right there on the chair and I confessed Him as my Lord and Savior. And that's when I think that, everything started. Yes, as a child, I went to church and, all of that. But the church I went to in Jamaica, they didn't do baptism as an adult. They did it as a child. So your parents would get you baptized, and then when you became an adult, you did what they called confirmation classes. So it was different. But when I came here, I realized that that was not how it was supposed to be done. Because now I started reading for myself. I knew that I had to get water baptized. I had to go down as an old person and come back up as a new one. So when I came to, I lived in 5 different states before I settled in Alabama. And when I came to Alabama is when I got baptized. Yes. So I've been baptized since 2013. Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about what it was like growing up in Jamaica?
Yes. It was a lot. I grew up in a single parent home. I've been sexually abused, verbally abused, physically abused, but I'm still here. Um, it was hard. Yeah, some aspects were very hard, especially when you grow up with a parent that you could not have a conversation with. Um, I told her about the abuse and she didn't believe me. So, you know, that tends to make a child want to be rebellious. Not rebelling against yourself, but rebelling against the parent that you're living with. And then there was an absence of a father. So it was rough. But there was a lot of good times as well, you know. It wasn't all bad. There was a lot of good times. I have two brothers, but I wasn't raised with them. I was the only one that was raised in the home with my mother. Um, I still have relatives, and I have 3 children still in Jamaica and 2 grandchildren. I just went there in June. So, yeah,
Wow.
in a nutshell, that's it.
And as you followed Jesus, what has been an area of your life where you felt like he was calling you into greater intimacy, obedience, or lordship over your life?
When I the church I joined when I just came here, um, I was comfortable sitting in the back of the church. I was comfortable being in the back of the pew, just listening and all of that. But the pastor I was under at the time, he kept pushing. I'm pushing. I think he saw something that I didn't see because I was not comfortable speaking publicly. I was not a public speaker. I didn't do those things, but he kept pushing, and the more he pushed, the more I studied, the closer the relationship got. I started hearing the voice of the Lord clearer. Um, I started to where I was singing in the choir, teaching Bible study. So, it blessed me immensely with him pushing and me finding my way serving God.
And when did you first start to realize that Jesus was asking you to that he was calling you into something better in your life?
Because I grew up in that kind of environment, I grew up with low self-esteem. So I always tend to measure myself to people, you know, who looks better or who is slimmer or who has better clothes or, it was always stuff like that. But when I got to a point where instead of comparing myself with people, I started to compare myself with Christ, I knew that it wasn't about me anymore. It was about the kingdom and what I could do, what kind of addition I was to the kingdom, and what I could bring through Christ.
So there was some insecurity maybe that he was inviting you out of and calling you
Yes,
into greater relationship with him in that area of your life.
yes.
And what challenges or struggles did you run into as you walked through this experience and as he guided you through this process?
Being the only Jamaican in in the church, it wasn't just about my insecurities. It was about other members in the church. It was about their insecurities as well. Um, I think they saw me more as the enemy because of my work ethic, because of how I served. I mean, it was always a complaint. It was always, it's either how I talked or how I walked or how I looked or how I dressed. It was always something. So it presented challenges because it made me start to question myself again. Am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Am I really supposed to be serving in this capacity? It made me question a lot of things because of the challenges I faced with the members.
And what happened as you walked in obedience to Christ's call on your life to find your identity in him rather than maybe your identity in what you looked like or the insecurities that you struggled with? What did you find out about yourself and about what did you find out about yourself and what did God reveal about himself through this process?
I think that's a one, two, three. I mean, uh, when I let go, I just let go and let God. That's all I did. In trying to fight the battles by myself, I let him fight the battles. As let him fight the battle, it the acceptance come easy. It made the walk was easier. I mean, yes, there's always going to be challenges, but what I stopped doing is trying to fight the battles. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Did saying yes to this journey and this invitation to find your identity in him, did that saying yes to that cost you anything?
It, yes, it cost me friendships. It cost me relationships. You know, there's a saying: if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for everything. And there came a point when I had to stand my ground. It was either God or the devil. There's no in between. And I stood on my beliefs, I stood on my faith, and it created, problems with relationships. But this is what I told myself: what is for me can be not for me.
What have you learned through this process?
There's so many lessons. But my biggest takeaway through this process: when you acknowledge the Lord with all things, with everything, not just some parts of you, but all of you, and when you put him as the forerunner and the front runner in everything that you're doing, then it doesn't matter the outcome that you're expecting, but that you'll be walking in his will. And that's my takeaway from all of this. I want to be in his will. And because I want to be in his will, it doesn't matter what I have to go through to get to that place. If it means that I have to go through the fire or go through the storm, I'm good with that, as long as I'm ended up in his will.
That's good. How is your life different after saying yes to this call to walk in that in the identity that you have in him rather than the identity you found in other things? How is your life different after answering that call and walking in obedience to King Jesus in this area?
Can I tell you this? I thought that when I gave my life to God, I don't know how many Christians think this way, but I thought that when I gave my life to God, oh, everything was just gonna be smooth sailing. It was gonna be good. There wasn't gonna be no trouble. But I can tell you this: I know what long suffering looks like. From a child until I really got to know who Christ is, I know what long suffering is, and I wouldn't change anything. No, I wouldn't change anything, because I've been through situations and stuff that um the word says that, people are overcome by your testimony, and I've been there where my testimony has helped somebody else. So I wouldn't change anything.
Last question as we wrap up. Who is Jesus to you?
That's not one word. He's my provider. He is my waymaker. He is my strength, my tower, my rock, my shield. He is my way when there's no way. He is my all in all. He is my strength. He's my provider. He is my healer. He is my everything.
Is there anything that you would want to share with somebody who might be listening to this and going through some of the stuff that you've experienced?
Don't give up. There are many times that, I wanted to throw the towel in. I wanted to just say, no, y'all can't have this. I'm going back to Jamaica. I'm just going to do me. There are many times that I thought about it, and then the Lord will bring something back to my memory. David said, that word I've hidden in my heart, that I sin not against thee. And the Lord will always bring something back to my remembrance, something that He brought me from or He brought me through. The one thing I can assure you that He is Emmanuel. He is God that is with us, and He will never leave nor forsake us. So just hold on to that.
Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.